Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about feeding our dog. I remember that before, in supermarkets, there were bags of rice labeled dog rice. I don't know what the difference was between that rice and the regular rice for us, And then there was this kind of big sausage, like really thick, that you would cut into pieces and mix with the rice, and that's what the dogs ate. The end. And that's it for the video on feeding. Well, nowadays, there's always a debate between three types of feeding. Kibble, homemade food, and raw meat. Yes, friends, raw meat. There are a lot of breeders and many, people who work with dogs that feed their dogs raw meat and then give them other types of supplements like some vegetables, etc. Honestly, from my point of view, I don't know to what extent a dog's nutritional needs are going to be fully met with that type of feeding. Then there's homemade food. Well, this is the easiest part, right? Well, whatever's left over from the stew we've made, we give it to the dog. If we have a little leftover fried potato with egg, we give that to the dog. He's already eaten. Well, this can be quite dangerous and harmful for the dog. First, because the nutritional needs that we humans have are not the same as those of a dog or a cow or a chick. Okay, each one of us, each type of animal is a different species with different nutritional needs. Well, that's where the big debate comes from about whether we should or shouldn't consume cow's milk, since cow's milk is meant for a calf and not for a human. But anyway, that's a discussion that has nothing to do with the dog world, and I'm not going to get into it. So, why isn't it good? First, because we don't know how much protein, how much fat, and how many carbohydrates our dog is consuming. We don't know the energy, the calories they're taking in, so we can't tell if it's going to make them gain weight or not. And besides this, there are a number of foods that are completely prohibited because they are toxic to dogs. For example, onion. Anyway, I'm going to leave you a little chart here that lists the prohibited foods that you should never give to a dog. Among them, most typical one is onion. Everyone cooks with onion. We add onion to absolutely everything. To stews, to things that aren't stews, to fried foods, and to things that aren't fried. Absolutely everything has onion in it, and that onion is toxic to dogs. Sweets, sugar, they don't digest it very well either. Keep in mind that they're carnivores, so their digestive system is designed to digest meat, which isn't exactly rich in sugar. So it's really easy to make a dog diabetic with all the problems that come with it, like blindness, obesity, etc., etc. So as we've seen, it's not a good idea to feed our dog homemade food. Let's suppose an example. Imagine that we've run out of dog food. Well, if we've run out of dog food, then we can make a little bit of rice, a little bit of meat, and even add some raw meat until we get more dog food. But it's better not to run out of dog food, and now you're going to see why. Now let's talk about dog food. There are many critics of dog food, many of us who are in favor of it. Behind every dog food brand, there's a canine nutritionist, a veterinarian who analyzes each kibble, and each kibble has to meet the nutritional needs, or the right amount of protein, carbohydrates, and fat that the dog needs. There are different types of ranges. There's low range, medium range, high range, and high premium. I'm not going to mention brands because I don't think it's fair to the low-end brands, nor do I think it's good for the high-end dog food. So how do these types of dog food differ? Well, the type of dog food mainly differs in the quality of the ingredients that make up the food itself. An example, let's start giving examples because it's much easier. Imagine we buy a bag of dog food that contains chicken. Well, in the low-end range, that chicken is going to be the comb, the beak, the feet, those little whiskers that chickens have. That's going to be the chicken, the bones. That's the chicken content that low-end dog food will have. The medium-range dog food, when it says it contains chicken, will have chicken that isn't fit for human consumption, but it is suitable for animals. Keep in mind that animals like dogs and also wolves have a digestive system that allows them to be hunters, but they also have some scavenger traits. So they can eat meat that we wouldn't be able to eat because we need to consume fresh meat. However, they can eat meat that wouldn't be suitable for us, which would be the medium range. The high-end range is chicken meat that is fit for human consumption. Usually people wouldn't buy it, either because it's poorly cut or because it looks worse, even if it's perfectly fine, even if it's fresh and of good quality. But if you see a nicely cut chicken breast and then a poorly cut one, the poorly cut one just gets left behind. Well, that meat is what goes into the high-end range. And well, it gets left there. The premium. Besides having that type, well, the high range usually also includes, apart from having that good quality meat, it has additives, vitamins, and joint protectors for the cartilage, etc. etc. In 2001, apart from the dog foods, you have to be careful, okay? Attention! Careful with the dog foods. There's a lot to consider. This is for Yorkshire. Special food for Labradors, special food for German Shepherds. That's pure and simple marketing. I mean, the only difference between the dog food for Yorkshire Terriers and the dog food for German Shepherds is the size of the kibble. The Yorkshire has a smaller kibble, so it fits better in their mouth. The German Shepherd has bigger kibbles. That's it. It's true that there are different types of dog food for different ages, and that's important. Young dogs, puppies, need to be given a junior food, which is a high-energy food that will provide them with the energy to develop physically and mentally well. Then there's the adult, kibble, which also comes in different types for adults, because it's not the same for a dog that stays cooped up in a house all day as it is for a dog that pulls sleds, for example. It is clear that nutritional needs, energy, and macronutrient needs are not going to be the same. So we really need to keep that in mind, because if you give a dog that just sits on the couch all day a high energy kibble, it's going to become an obese dog. Kibble for older dogs is low in energy and often includes vitamins. There are specific kibbles like medicated ones for kidney or liver issues and hypoallergenic options using shrimp instead of chicken. For the cartilage, for the bones, calcium supplements, joint protectors for them. For the digestive system, to help them digest better, etc. Then there are other types of kibble that are more specific, like medicated kibble for certain diseases, for dogs with kidney issues, liver problems, or any other issues, including allergies. There are hypoallergenic kibbles that instead of having, for example, chicken meat, have shrimp. Yes, shrimp. And well, as you can see, behind the world of kibble, especially high quality ones, there's a whole world to study that is worth it. Does that mean I shouldn't eat, that I shouldn't buy low quality kibble? Well, I prefer to buy low quality kibble rather than giving homemade food. Personally, because even with low quality kibble, with worse nutrient quality, the dog will be better fed than if I give it leftovers. In any case, I always recommend that if you can and can afford it, you give your dog high quality kibble. Because the money you save by maybe buying a lower quality kibble, you're going to end up spending it later at the vet. Okay, it's not the same if you eat pizza and hamburgers every day than if you're eating but not getting the right nutrition. And in the end, you'll have problems like obesity, cholesterol, etc., etc. So, good nutrition for us and for dogs is essential. That said, how much food do I need to give the dog? Well, that's another topic. I wanted to talk to you about There are many people who, for convenience, have an automatic food dispenser where the dog can go and eat whenever it wants, etc. Well, I think that's great. In 2 instances, it has rabbit, which is good in 2 instances. One is when we have to go on a trip, if we're going away for 3 or 4 days, and we don't have anyone to leave our dog with. I can set up an automatic food dispenser that will keep feeding him. There are different types. Some are buckets that always have food, and the dog can eat whenever it wants. And others are automatic ones that give a portion of food at certain times that you can program. Down below, I'll put the link to our store's website in the description. There, we only have high quality and medium high quality food. Okay. And then we also have, I want to remind you, in the feeding section, or feeders or something like that, we also have different types of automatic feeders in case you need them. Well, as I said, 1 is in case of traveling, and 2 is for dogs that live on farms. If you have a farm and you're going to check on it every 3 or 4 days, it's better for the dog to have its food than to run out. Okay, it's obvious, but I always recommend giving them their daily portion of food. How much do I need to give each dog? Well, look, on the back of the kibble bags, you'll see some charts that indicate how much food to give based on the dog's age and weight. In theory, it's related to the size, and you should give a certain amount of food. That's just a guideline. Let's suppose 5 kilo 5-year-old Yorkshire. It's obvious that you shouldn't give the same amount of food to a Yorkshire that spends all day lying on its owner as you would to a Yorkshire that does agility, for example, jumping, running, going up and down. It's obvious that the nutritional needs of those 2 dogs are not the same. So, one would need to be given more food than the other. A very clear example, very clear, is Fame. Fame. In my house, when she's here, well, she has her little house, her little yard, and all that. But she doesn't do much exercise. Well, she eats a portion of food. Now with the puppies that have to be nursing 7 little beasts, she eats 3 and has lost weight. Okay, well, that's great, Juanlu. But I still don't know how much food I should give him. Well, what I would do is give him what that little chart indicates and observe your dog. If your dog is maintaining the weight it should have, then we keep going with that portion. If we see that he's losing weight, we give him a little more food. If we see that he's getting fat, then more exercise and less food. Okay, and that's how we're always going to keep an eye on our dog's weight, which is very important. I'm not going to talk about canine obesity right now, as I'm sure that will be in another video. I'm always saying now, we'll see that in another video, and it might sound like an excuse, but since the channel is just 4 days old, I have to cover everything, basically. And well, I think I haven't forgotten anything. Yes, I forgot one thing. Feeding with training. If the dog has food available all day, why do you think it will make an effort to learn new things? For a sausage, imagine that food or a sausage is like reward for us, like money, okay? So if I have $1 million in the bank and someone tells me, look, you have to climb that mountain on your knees, and if you can do it, I'll give you $1,000. This guy here isn't going to do it. Why? Because I have 1 million in the bank. For $1,000, it's not worth it for me to climb on my knees and ruin my knees. Now, if instead of having $1 million in the bank, or I have a notice that they're going to foreclose on my house and throw me out on the street, I would climb that mountain on my knees 4 times. I don't know if I'm explaining myself and if you understand what I'm trying to say. I mean, A hungry dog is easier to train than a dog with a full belly, especially if the reward is going to be a sausage. So, in order for me to control that, for example, I always train with my dog for feeding her. That's another thing I haven't mentioned. How many times a day should you feed them? When they're puppies, you need to feed them 3 or 4 times a day. As they get older, you have to start reducing their meals one by one. There are even people, I did it with Ula, who would eat 6 days a week, and everyone would say how cruel it is to leave one day without eating. Let's see, they're not human beings. Even if we love them as such, they are not human beings. Their digestive system, a hunter's digestive system, a hunter, it's when they hunt. What does that mean? It means that maybe they hunt today, stuff themselves with food today, and then they can't hunt again, not because they don't want to, but because they can't until 3 days later. And so their digestive system has evolved over billions of years. With us, dogs have been around for 10,000, 1,000 years. This means that in an evolutionary period, it's nothing. It's just 1 second. Their digestive system is still that of a wolf, that of a hunter. Therefore, having to eat every day at all times is absolutely not recommended for a dog. In fact, that fasting day I did for my dog was good for her digestive system to regenerate. In fact, my dog has never had any problem switching kibble. Not at all. Speaking of switching kibble, and I promise I'm almost done. When we switch kibble, we need to change the kibble. We're going to do it gradually. 2001. We're going to divide their food into 4 parts. So we're going to put 1 of the new kibble and 3 of the old kibble. After 2 or 3 days, it'll be 2 of the new kibble and 2 of the old kibble. Then the next day, it'll be 3 of the new kibble and 1 of the old kibble. And after 2 or 3 days, they can eat the new kibble. If you don't do this, if you don't take this adaptation step, it's very likely that your dog will have diarrhea. And you'll think, well, they got sick, that the kibble is of poor quality, that there's something wrong with the ingredients. It's just the change of kibble, and that's it. I'm not giving a bad impression with this. If you have any questions or doubts, you know that the email says Wow Mail. So there you can ask me whatever you want. You can also ask in the comments. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe and hit the bell, because if you don't hit the bell, you won't get notifications for the new videos and you won't learn as much as we're learning. At the center. And that's it. A hug. See you in the next video.